Welcome to another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files tonight, the Kiss edition. And this was requested by my good friend Antonio Ballatore, who's in the bottom square below me tonight. And this episode is all about Kiss. So on tonight's episode, I've asked my guests to tell us their favorite 3 Kiss albums, maybe their favorite member. I didn't ask them that yet, but I'm just throwing it at them. And what made them like fans of the band or experiences you've had with the band, whether it be a concert or meeting them or something else. Joining us tonight is John McEntee, a regular on the show from the Mighty Incantation. We were supposed to have Will Carroll from Death Angel. He might roll in. He's running late, maybe. Andrew Freeman is here from Last in Line, another one of my regulars. Chris Caffery will be joining us tonight, he promises, from TSO and Sabotage. I've got a new guy on the show tonight, Matt Sorg from Ringworm, big Kiss collector. So I invited him on, and now I've got, of course, I just mentioned Antonio Ballatore is here, and he's the host of Animal Planet's Animal Cribs. He's played in Murphy's Law, and he's an old friend of mine, and he requested tonight's show, as I've already said. And I've got Jimi Young, the drummer from Heaven's the Mergitroid. And H2O, he's a long-time Kiss collector and a good friend of Rock Fantasy over the years. And I knew he was such a Kiss fan, so I reached out to him directly. And here comes Chris Caffery. Welcome to the show. You got here just in time for kickoff. You didn't miss any.
Oh, really? That's got to be a miracle. I'll see you guys in 20 minutes.
We were waiting for you and Will Carroll, and Will was kind of disappeared, so we decided to go to 9:15. So we're here to talk about Kiss. They're if you don't know who Kiss is, I guess you probably won't watch the show anyhow, but they're an American rock band formed in New York City in 1973 by Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, Ace Frehley. Well known for the face paint, stage outfits, and the great live performances that we all grew up with in the 70s, if you were old enough, with fire breathing and blood spitting and smoking guitars and shooting rockets in the pyro. And I guess we'll go with Matt Sorg. You're new to the show, and what can you tell us about Kiss and your third favorite album by them tonight?
My third favorite album, my 3 favorite albums?
Yes.
Hotter Than Hell was my favorite, my very favorite. Destroyer was the first one I ever got.
Okay.
But I went back and got Hotter Than Hell. I was 5 years old at the time. I went back and got Hotter Than Hell. That one became my instant favorite from then on out. Still one of my favorite records by anybody.
So Kiss Hotter Than Hell is your favorite record, not your third favorite.
Oh, not my third favorite. No.
It's not your favorite. So you're going favorite first, which is just fine. You can do in any order you want. So we're just going around to each person. We'll get your favorite one.
I got it. Sorry.
Matt, what got you into Kiss? What got you into be like? You've got a big collection, you were saying there too, and you showed some off camera.
Yeah, well, my parents were real young when I was born. They were 17, and so they liked all the music that was in my house was Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper, and I really took to Alice because of the snakes and the makeup and everything. And then, so when I first saw Kiss, and so much that they took me to see Alice Cooper when I was 3 years old. I saw Alice and Susie Quattro at Richfield Coliseum when I was 3. So I was a big fan of rock and of Alice Cooper particularly. But
you remember the show?
I remember everybody. That's the first thing everybody. I don't remember the show too much, but I remember the one thing I really do remember is it started off with a sheet over the stage, and they projected a movie of Alice dancing in the graveyard with some skeletons and shit. And I remember looking at my parents and going, I thought he was going to be here. This is a movie. I thought they bamboozled me. But then Alice walks through the screen and the sheet drops, and I was like, oh, okay, he is here. All right. But that's the main thing I took from that. The one thing I do remember is being off that I thought he wasn't there. But yeah, so when I saw the Destroyer album cover, I just had to have it because it looked like Marvel Comics and Alice Cooper mixed into one, jumping out of the city they just destroyed. So that's what my mom was filling out a Columbia House thing, and I was like, I need that.
Columbia House.
13.
What a scam.
Okay.
I think I stole all those guys' money.
When you buy those tapes or
penny?
CDs, they're worth a lot of money now because they're hard to find.
Really, huh?
Any of the Columbia House or any of those,
like their versions?
Yeah, they're rare. They're rare. They're rare. They're considered more rare because you can't find the Columbia House ones anymore.
Yeah, Discogs lists all records like as club edition or whatever if you got them that way. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think anyone that's in my age group all pulled that gimmick because you'd get a bunch of stuff and then they'd want you to pay like astronomical prices for the next few you had to get.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's people they're gonna watch this and be like, "What the hell is Columbia House?"
Yeah.
So it's a scam in the back of your TV Guide or whatever magazine, and you pay a what was it, a penny for
penny?
Like,
for they advertise it as a penny.
But then they fuck you for the next 4 years, and you got to buy records at like $50. You know,
like once a month,
at regular clubhouse prices.
But those stickers, if you didn't join, those stickers were like our temporary tattoos when we were little kids.
Right.
And if you didn't pick a record, they just send you one.
Yeah, right.
I remember getting like the best of bread or something.
Cool. You got the
pissed off bread. What the fuck?
Matt's got the Kiss 7-Eleven cup. I see.
That's what I got it on the whole set, but tonight I'm drinking from Paul.
Yeah, I have them too.
I got two. I got one to put away and one set to use.
Cool. I got the Kiss Carnival glass that you threw like quarters in to win at the fairgrounds or boardwalk back in the day for my beer tonight. All right, so we're moving next to Mr. Andrew Freeman. Welcome back to the Rock Fantasy Files tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Is everybody? We had somebody.
You're a little gargled.
It's a little gurgled, yeah.
You're like robotic.
We can hear you, but yes, you sound like you're talking from undersea ship at times.
Is this getting better at all? How about now?
No, it's actually worse.
It's worse now. Jesus Christ! I don't know what's going on here. I got to. Sorry, guys.
It's a good effect, though.
Yeah, it's me underwater. I'm the underwater guy today. all the best equipment, and I can't fucking do shit here. So number 3, huh? Well, I will say this. I can't. I don't think I can. Can't narrow it down to 3. Can't narrow it down.
I couldn't.
What's that? Anyway, so number 3 for me is, and I know it's a live album. But it had the biggest effect on me as a kid, and because you got it, and it was just this huge thing, and you open it up, and it was this huge picture of them coming down on those hydraulic lifts they had, and it's just that the whole package of it just blew my fucking mind. Alive 2 is my I will say 3rd favorite, just because it's a live album.
Was it really live? Was it really live?
Yeah, it's kind of a studio album, right?
They are.
You slid in on a technicality on this one. It's not really live.
I mean,
I didn't say you have to do live, or you could include anything, and it's up to you to decide. I mean,
a lot of people like the Alive album because they say that the first 3 albums didn't sell well until the people bought Alive, and then the other 3 albums sold after that because Alive turned everybody onto it.
Yeah.
When I was 7, it was a live album. So everything they said, I believe every fucking thing they said. So yeah. So and then the it was a double record. The last side was a studio record. It was recorded songs that didn't have live, crowd put in on.
Didn't have a fake crowd in there.
The crowd cheering.
Yeah, on the 24th track, there wasn't a live, wasn't a live crowd there. So yeah, Alive 2. I'm going to mention all my honorable mentions here because the other two that I have are obvious. Everybody's probably going to agree on it, but love Dynasty. I loved not the whole thing. A lot of it though, but I like it more now as an adult than I did when I was younger. Because if you remember, that was when they sold out. They're fucking disco. But now when you listen, like I Was Made for Loving You, now it's just like got that digga. It's rad. There's that one. Lick It Up. First time I ever saw them was a Lick It Up tour, Mid-Hudson Civic Center.
I was there.
I was there too.
That was my first show too.
Front row, general admission.
Yeah, blew my fucking mind.
Except
opened. And what else? Who else? So that was the first time I ever saw them, and they had no makeup on. So everybody, blew everybody's mind that on that record. And then Creatures of the Night. Just okay, and that's it. Those are my honorable mentions. I'm not going to get too deep into them, but Eric Carr, there you go.
Very good, very good. The opening statements from Mr. John McEntee from the mighty Incantation. Hello.
Okay, well, I'm kind of like a poser long-term Kiss fan because I liked them a lot as like a young kid. Like, I don't even remember when exactly. I'll probably say around Destroyer or somewhere between Destroyer and Alive 2, which was, within a year or something like that is when I got into them. When I started doing all the TV stuff and everything. And I thought it was super cool. And I was like obsessed. I was just like, any other kid at that age, just, Kiss freak and just like buying all toys and lunch boxes and stuff like that. And then, basically after like Unmasked came out, I just kind of like lost interest in it. Like all other metal stuff was coming out, like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. I was getting more into even AC/DC, Queen, all these other bands. And it just seemed like, I don't know, just wasn't that interested. And I actually didn't even like get back to them until Lick It Up came out, and I seen they took their makeup off, and that was the first time. And I think I heard, I don't remember if the first single was Lick It Up or All Hell's Breaking Loose, but I kind of got into them, and I liked them until about was it Asylum, and then after Asylum, I kind of like just said, screw this. This is just, these guys are just too wimpy. I just can't handle it anymore. And I basically blew them off for years. I mean, I used to live in Cleveland, and Matt knows me from there. And everyone was freaking out when they got back with the makeup and everything. And I was just like, whatever, who cares? They're done. And I actually didn't like give a crap about them until, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, I started pulling out some of the old albums. I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like it totally brought me back to that feeling of, especially the 70s and, the early 80s stuff was good. Of course, Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up, even Animalize. I mean, the first time I seen them on tour was Animalize. And I've seen them at Brendan Byrne Arena, and it was an amazing show. I mean, they played just an amazing set list of songs, a lot of great older stuff, a lot of newer stuff at that time, just an amazing show. And so anyway, enough of my bullshit rant. As far as my it's hard to pick an album because to me a lot of their albums have like certain songs that are just amazing, and then a couple that are just like kind of lemons or whatever. It's like they always seem to have like just a few filler songs on there just to kind of get the album out and have some really choice cuts on a lot, especially later stuff in my opinion. But I think for me, probably my third favorite, I was going to go with Alive 2 and have the poser kind of answer because, it's easy. But I decided.
Don't worry, a couple of us are feeling that one. So
I decided to go with Love Gun. It's like Love Gun's a really great album. I know it's another generic pick, but it's a great album. It's probably their heaviest album. It's the most rocking album. It has that the production, just a great, just probably in my opinion, their best album, because to me, like, even though Destroyer is a great album, it's a little bit maybe a little overproduced. It was great as a kid, but it's just a little bit like, I don't know, less rock and roll or something, I think Love Gun is a great example of them kind of at their height. I mean, of course, I love Creatures of the Night 2 is a great album too, but when I listen back to it compared to Love Gun, it still isn't as good, even though I love Eric Carr's drum playing. And, I mean, Creatures of the Night's when I heard that, when I went back after Lick It Up, I was like, holy crap, I totally missed this great album, Creatures of the Night, but it just, still I go Love Gun as my third.
And I think it has one of the best album covers that they've ever had.
I have that paper gun hiding somewhere, not hiding, just in the
the paper gun. That was
I have one, but I don't. It's in those things in your house somewhere that you'll find when you're like 5 days away from being 100 years old. Like, oh, I never find the things that I want right now.
When they're packing you up for the nursing home, they'll find a gun.
There's my gun. There's my gun.
There you go.
There it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
All right.
Wow.
Thank
you,
you,
order
John.
form.
That was pretty cool. And Antonio Ballatore, my old
All right, well-
friend, welcome to the show tonight. And what's your opening statement, sir?
Well, I was introduced to Kiss. I had a brother who was 10 years older than me, and he, I had Hotter Than Hell was the first record, and then Kiss Alive. Those two records kind of had at the same time through my brother. And so I had to be like 5 years old, 6 years old. And it was that, T-Rex, Alice Cooper, all that stuff that I was listening to because of my brother. And him and his friend used to fuck with me and say they were in Kiss, and they couldn't tell me. I wasn't not supposed to tell anybody, So, I had this whole thing when I was real little, like I had to be like 5. What year was Hotter Than Hell? 75?
74.
74. So what the fuck was I? was like, I can't fucking do the math. Anyway, so I started out
A long time ago.
A long time ago. And, and then I was heavy into Kiss ever since then, man. Ever since, I went through the phases in and out like everybody else did, and felt like I bought too much shit after a while, and I felt like they started owing me money. So I kind of fell out of it a little bit,
I know that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So, throughout the years, I was saying I thought I was at the Poughkeepsie Lick It Up one, but I was at the Poughkeepsie Animalized one. That was the first time I saw Kiss.
Queensryche.
With Queen, yeah, I got the picture. I took pictures.
Wow,
I was
I
right
missed
up
that
front.
one. I missed that one.
That was the only one I missed at the Civic Center.
And that was the last show at Mark St. John, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I saw the other show at Brendan Byrne with Bob Kulick.
Yeah, I don't
Unanalyzed.
remember who was opening up though. I don't remember who opened up that gig.
You know what? I don't either.
It wasn't
the
Black
Civic
and
Center?
Blue.
No, at Brendan Byrne or whatever.
Maybe Dockin.
Maybe. Yeah, they opened up for everybody back
Oh, yeah,
then.
exactly. You talk about 20 concerts you went to. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
It was usually
Wait,
Dockin
didn't
or
they play-
Wasp.
Oh, no, Wasp. No, it wasn't
Except
Wasp.
open for him too one time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
was
Look
Look
It
It
Up.
Up. Yeah, Look It Up tour.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, going back, I thought we were gonna do 5, so I'm a little unprepared.
Well, you can do a couple honorable mentions now or at the end of the show, either or,
See-
whatever you'd like to do.
I was like getting fucked up over the live albums. You know what I mean? Is it greatest hits? Is it a live record? What is, so excluding from the 3, I say, when they say the desert island record, if you're stranded on an island with record, I would have to bring Kiss Alive or Kiss Alive 2. Either those are tied for me. I mean,
Okay.
they're just great fucking records, whether they're live, whether they're studio, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
It captured an energy. It captured something of that time that like Kiss Alive shot them. Like nobody was really listening to the first 3 records, and
Right.
it really gave you the experience of Kiss with the explosions in the background. And you're looking at the pictures and you're seeing the blood, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" As a little kid, you're like, "What the hell?" You know what I mean? So without greatest hits and all that shit, those are I'd have to say those are my favorites. But I would tie it at number 3 with these two. They're,
All right.
like you got the Dynasty. This is like when was 80, or was this 80, right? 79, 80.
79.
This is when you're starting, like, as me for a kid, I was starting to listen to a lot of different music. I wasn't just a little kid listening to what my brother was listening to. This was my dad's friend made Gene Simmons' costume. So
wow.
he came home and he gave me, I still have it, but it's disintegrated. It's like if you look at it, you'd be like, what the fuck he's saving this for? It looks like a little piece of fucking snot. And it's a piece of Gene Simmons' costume. So this is like special memories for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I mean, you got Charisma, Dirty Living, Hard Times, a great fucking song. 2000 Man, it's a great, it's a good album, you know what I mean? No matter like Andrew was saying, it had that disco thing. They sold out for the 1st or 5th time. I don't know which one it was at that point. And then Rock Roll Over. this kind of reminds me of going to the bowling alley, you know, putting all my money in the jukebox to play, you know, what was it, Dr. Love, and then go to, you know, I don't know,
Cool.
try to play bowling. I tell you, you know, this record here, this is my original record from when I was a kid. It's still the pinholes I had
Nice.
on my wall. This is just
Good
this
shape
looking at
compared to mine.
what's that?
That's in good shape compared to mine. I think mine got a flood.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I bought the Resurrected. I have that brand new Resurrected or whatever. And that I love, you know, it's there's little details in there, but I like the Resurrection even more, you know what I mean? But I have to go with this because I would stare at this album cover for hours and hours and hours and listen to it over and over and over. And I mean, you know, this is like overproduced, but the drum sound on this fucking record, you know, like the sounds on this record, I think is a great record. And then for going for number one, I have to go with Higher Than Hell too. This is I have my original copy. This is another copy I recently bought, but I remember looking at this record cover too, and like, you know, with the blowing the fire and everything, it was, and this record stands up. Like I was listening to this today. I did a little homework today. I was listening to everything. Great fucking songs, and just the way the production, Going Blind, you got Watching You, Strange Ways,
Amazing.
Awesome song.
Yeah.
Even Hotter Than Hell.
Higher Than Hell, yeah. I mean,
Parasite.
Yeah,
That's a great one.
Parasite.
Wow.
Listened to that a little bit ago before too. I got it hanging up.
Gotta Choose. So those are my favorite. Like, and then there's Elder.
There's Elder.
Is that-
Hey, World Without Heroes.
No. I still don't get Elder. I put it on. I'm like, what the fuck was going on here? No wonder Ace really was so high. You know,
Concept album, wasn't it?
What's that?
It was a concept album.
Yes,
Yeah, but what the fuck was the concept?
I don't know, but it
I'm
was
still trying to
a
figure out the concept.
You guys,
bad attempt.
you guys know that to this
did like
day,
7 concept records with Paul O'Neill and did arena tours for all of them. I still don't know what the fucking stories mean. You know, it's like a lot of these. I don't even know what my concepts are. Never mind somebody else. We're like, what is the Lost Christmas Eve's concept? I'm like, I really don't. Me and Johnny Lee went to Europe to do the Sabotage Wake of Magellan press tour, and they're asking us what the record was about, and we didn't fucking know. We had a story from Paul. We were supposed to memorize it, and we were just like, "I was a ship," and this. And that. We didn't remember what the concept was. It was like, I don't know.
That's funny. I don't think Kiss knew either.
No.
Someone was trying to do something.
I think
Well, yeah,
the
those
concept
are my
was that Bob,
favorites. And
the concept was that Bob Ezrin was on a lot of cocaine. That's the concept. He's the one that steered him in that direction, and he was out of his mind. So.
There was a lot of that. My engineer with TSO, Dave Whitman, he was engineering a lot of those Kiss records in the studio, and he told me that he used to be on the freaking studio floor getting off his knees and doing blow off the freaking SSL to try to finish those records. They were so fucked up in a lot of those years. So he did the actual original demo. He engineered Kiss's first demo at an 8-track in his freaking somebody's apartment.
Yeah.
oh wow,
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for your insight. And now, Antonio, you go with all your favorite albums. So next time we come back to you, you're going to have to tell us a story. So
yeah.
you jumped all into one. So next up on the show tonight is Jimi, and a longtime friend of mine. But he told me he's been shopping with me since I was set up at the fairgrounds. So that's before I even opened the store. That's showing his age because he looks quite young.
All
Even
these
though his last name is Young.
all those pins there, I got from you.
You're kidding.
No, and I've had some of them are real old, you know, from back in the day, from when you used to have them at the Orange Market.
Yeah, cool.
And bootleg. I used to buy bootlegs from you too.
Cool. So your opening statement tonight. We need your
bootlegs,
number.
really? We should talk about that later.
The bootleg. I never saw bootlegs. I'm very against it.
Bootlegs? What bootlegs?
Oh, they were regular ones.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, I think that was a different Steve Keeler that had that. But
Yeah,
anyhow, Rock
I hope
Fantasy
Gene
does
Simmons
have
doesn't
some
watch
breaks
this.
anyway, so. Jimmy, it was nice having you on the show tonight. And, Chris Caffery, welcome. So Jimmy, number 3 album from you, and of course, this guy's sitting in a room that looks like Gene Simmons' office.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by Kiss memorabilia.
So my favorite album, and my third favorite album is Creatures of the Night.
Okay.
I really like that one. You know, Paul did some really, really amazing vocals. I Still Love You. I mean,
Yeah.
I challenge any great singer to sing that song because it's a beautiful, it's slow, but I mean, he really put his heart into it. And I mean, some of the best vocals he ever did, in my opinion. You know, this is a time when Kiss was not sure what they were going to do. Vinnie Vincent came into the picture, wrote almost all the material for it. You know, even though Ace got his picture on the album, you know, Vinny really wrote most of the album with the guys in Kiss, and you know, it was Eric's third album. I love Eric. I don't like him more than Peter, but you know, I have a lot of fond memories of watching Eric play. I actually was telling Steve this. I recorded Millbrook Sound Studio with a band called Human X, and my bass drum that I used was a real large bass drum. And so in the studio, it really didn't come across the way it needed to. So I needed to use a bass drum. So I'm playing, you know, I play with this bass drum. And later on, like a day later, we were talking, me and Paul Arfino were talking, and he finds out that I really like Kiss. He sees my Kiss tattoo and blah, 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 blah. And he then proceeds to tell me how Eric practiced at the studio. Oh, and he's like, oh, by the way, the bass drum you just used, that was Eric's bass drum. I'm like, get out of here. So my bass drum, you know, he recorded, and I didn't even know it. So I recorded Eric's bass drum on that album, which was really cool to find out because I you know, I'm such a big Kiss fan. But yeah, I'm going with number 3 is Creature of the Night.
Cool. Very good. Chris Caffery, welcome back to the show. He's a bit of a semi-regular on this one and a good friend of mine. And
haven't I talked too much already?
no, because
Eric, he went through my spot twice.
You got number 3
I hit a couple of everybody's 3s. I mean,
that's fine.
3s and 1s, and because I did pick Creatures of the Night too. I mean, it's hard for me with Kiss to pick any one single one, but the first Kiss record I ever had was Kiss Alive. I bought Kiss Alive and the first Boston record were the first 2 records I ever bought. I was like 5 or 7 years, whatever. It was the first time I had enough lawnmower money to go to a record store and buy my own records. So those 2 records I got the same time, and the Kiss record just really, I mean, I love the Boston record, but the Kiss record is what made me do what I really wanted to do. I loved how heavy Kiss Alive was and how brutal that whole thing was from top to bottom, with just the way it just felt what I was looking for that I didn't hear. I always liked the heavier Beatles records, and I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't have a lot of friends that really like rock music. So I was searching for Kiss. I didn't know about really Sabbath or Zeppelin or this or that. So when I went to the record store and I heard about it and I bought it, that record is the one that really dragged me out and just made me love that music. And I think Kiss Alive 2 being my number 2, just for the fact that it just assembled everything that they had for the next couple of records into something really special. And the last studio side, even though we're mostly all studio sides, but that last one, just, you know, with Rocket Ride, it was just I think Kiss Alive 2 was great. And then, like he was saying with Creatures, that to me kind of brought back that same feel that I loved when I first heard Kiss Alive. It was just dark and it was heavy and it was pretty brutal. I mean, I think Creatures is just a really, really brutal record. And I agree with him about Paul's vocals. I mean, Paul was always, I mean, God bless him, because I work with the Leva and he's a really raspy singer, and raspy singers, people, I mean, unless the raspy singer's sitting there warming up, it takes a long time for that voice to come into tune. I mean, Paul Stanley was always better halfway through the show, and that's because the raspy voice always burns its way out. And, you know, now he's just older, and that voice, it's really hard to maintain. So it's like he did, you know, however many years they did, 40 years of having that voice come out, and God bless him. I mean, I know people like to bust on his voice now, but I'd like to see people do that for one fucking year with that rasp coming out of their voice every night. It's not easy to pull that rasp out. So I really like those 3 records. To me, I mean, I could pick pieces and songs off of so many other ones, but I think those are my three favorites altogether.
Cool.
Now, I did see him when I was 11. I got to see him. I just turned 11. I was 10, and I think a week later I went to see him at Nassau Coliseum, and Priest was opening up. I didn't even know who Priest was, but
Wow.
my big memory from that concert was I grabbed a bunch of their confetti off the ground and I put it in my pocket, and I had a jar with the confetti in it. And that jar smelled like pot for like 4 years. That's how strong the smell was. And I didn't, being a 10-year-old, I didn't know what the fuck that was. I think I let my dad smell it, and he told me because my some people's parents happen to know what that is. But I mean, it was one of those things. Somewhere near that love gun, I have that jar of confetti that I'll find when I'm 99.
You still have that there. Huh?
I have it somewhere. I have that confetti, but I seriously doubt it still smells like that. It'd be funny if it actually did, but that was my first concert I ever saw. Really was
smoke it, see what happens.
Yeah.
Smoke.
I was probably completely stoned out of my mind as a 10-year-old next to some of those people smoking, because we didn't pay attention to cigarettes back then, so everybody was smoking in the concerts.
Oh yeah. I can remember being at Giant Stadium for a concert when I first started going in like '78. It was that Ted Nugent and Aerosmith, and dude, there were people with US 2s in the grandstand in the stadium, smoking. So who did we lose? We just lost somebody.
Andy, yeah.
Andy went off. All right. So anyhow, I guess it's back to
the
me.
Submarine sank.
Oh my God. Maybe he'll come back. And I don't know tonight. But I guess I got turned on to Kiss from Alive also back in the day. I remember picking it up. My friends talking about it in school or whatever. And I remember picking it up. I think I picked it up at Playtalk's department store, which is I still in Middletown if you lived around
Shot there
here.
many times.
And I wore that out. And of course, then I got Destroyer, and Destroyer, I wore that 8-track LP. It's still one of my favorite all-time records. I just love the whole album. When I first opened up my shop, I wanted a pinball machine for Rock Fantasy. This was in '85. I located a game in upstate New York, the original one like Jimmy's got in his room, and I paid $400 for it at that time. I used to buy them for $400 from old operators that would put them in bowling alleys or laundromats and sell them for $600. Now the game's probably a $3,000 game. Chris has got one in his basement too there. Yeah. Over the years, I was also a vendor at the New Jersey, New York Kiss conventions, which some of you must remember. And I would always bring our beloved Valley Kiss pinball machine, Richie Rano and Marv Pritchard, rest in peace, that ran that show, would pay me extra to bring it and set up. And we had we had merchandise from our shop, And in those years, I thought the Kiss, like that Kiss thing, that was a huge convention.
Yeah, it was.
Mystique, because it was in the 80s. And and I mean, the convention ran into the 90s. It ran for quite a long time. And there was a real mystique back then of, because it didn't have makeup anymore. And that the mystique of that convention, it was,
the cover bands did. So it was like they were the only chance you had to see the makeup was the cover bands at the Kiss convention.
Yeah, they had the cover bands, and then they'd have Eric Singer there, Ace Frehley was there sometimes, Doro Pesch was there one year.
Even when he was there, he was kind of there sometimes.
Yeah. I can remember one time bringing pro wrestlers in, because one year Chiller Theater was overlapping with it, and I had the Mexican Lucha Libre star La Parca with us at the Kiss convention.
Oh, that's cool.
And I remember sneaking up on Doro Pesch, kind of sneaking up. She was doing autographs. We didn't really sneak up on her, but I said, La Parca, come over and meet, and he didn't, I don't even know if he knew who she was. She looked up at him and said, "What are you?" But anyhow, I'm way off subject, but I never had the pleasure of seeing them with the makeup in the 70s at all. The first time I ever saw them was at the show. People were talking about this gig earlier at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie with Accept. And at that time, I was a huge Kiss fan in the 70s, but after Love Gun, I dropped them. I started listening to the heavier stuff. Like John and I, we've talked about this in other episodes with Rush and other bands where you just started going a different direction. They went a different direction. And I wasn't even really there to see Kiss. I was there to see Accept. And I remember driving to that storm, and it was like a big ass snowstorm. We had a hell of a time making it home that night. It was in March of '84, actually.
Yeah.
I still remember that storm. And then I saw them again at the Orange County Fairgrounds. They were here on, I believe, Hot in the Shade tour.
Yes.
Right. And Slaughter was on the road with them, and I forget the other opening band. And then I didn't get to see them until the reunion tours when they put the makeup back on. I saw that a couple of times, and I saw the Psycho Circus tour like a couple of times, and then I ended up seeing their farewell tour. If you remember, they had a farewell tour back in what, 2003, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And with Ted Nugent and Skid Row, I saw that like 3 times. One time we went to Hershey Park with 2 of my good buddies, one of my employees at the store at the time and another friend from the pro wrestling business. And we went to Hershey Park. We stayed overnight, and we tried our best to recreate the Phantom in the park. It's like, we're going to see Kiss. We're at the amusement park, the roller coasters. It was as close as we were going to get to that movie as we could, you know. And of course, then, you know, back years. Of course, I turned my back on him for a while with the imposter makeup thing. I just couldn't get into it. But then I came around and saw him a few times, and I really started enjoying the shows. And I love going to shows. And there's still people out there that hate the imposter thing. I don't think it's the best thing ever. But, I got to see him in my final times lately. Of course, I got to see him in Madison Square Garden on the final tour ever is what they're calling it, right?
I saw that show too.
Final tour.
Yes. And now they're waiting for the pandemic to go away to see if they're, if they can come back and finish this tour. But I did the meet and greet, which I spent a lot of money on. But I did that in 2020, and looking back on it, I was just like, I'm glad I went and did it, because
Hey,
I went to like 3 concerts all last
man,
in
Battleship
2020, and that was one
Torpedo.
of them. I thought I insulted you. I didn't even do the first in line or last in line joke.
Fuck off, Steve.
Now he has potty mouth too.
I had something.
I did the
I
meet
don't know
and
what the
greet.
fuck was going on, but I went back to my original iPad. I had to go grab my
Sounds
iPad.
a lot better.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's better.
guys. Back.
This is like the first time since the late 80s that I've seen Andrew Freeman twice in 2 weeks. I used to see we used to see each other almost every week when we'd go out to the same clubs around here. And then he moved away. He just
I got away. This was like, I gotta stop running into this fucking guy.
So the number 3 album for me is Kiss' first album. So
Great one.
It's a fun record to listen to.
I mean,
Fun
Strutter, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Deuce, 100,000 Years, and Black Diamond. Like some of the my favorite Kiss songs all reside on this album that no one bought when it came out, like we were talking about earlier. They were a struggling band when that came out, and
What year was that?
my story for now. So I've got my next couple after that, but we're gonna shoot back over to Matt Sorg and see what.
I started with number 1 because I didn't understand the
Yeah,
concept.
I guess I should explain.
There is no
that better
concept.
So I guess
Every mail I get from Steve about this stuff is completely different in order of what he wants to do. So it's like there is no concept.
I
That's
guess I'll
just
do
a bunch of guys chatting about bands they're passionate about, pretty much. Yeah.
Rock and Roll Over. That's my second favorite.
I like that record a lot. Too.
Great one.
Yeah, it's just the production is awesome. The guitar tone is awesome. The songs are awesome. It's
And I even got the black light.
I thought it was interesting how they set. I read, what was it? I think it was in Paul Stanley's book where they used the acoustic guitar with the electric guitar. I thought that was a really cool idea. I'd never noticed that until he said that, and I listened back, and you could hear the tinge of the actual clean guitar in there. It's really cool.
yeah.
And Matt, have you done some of the Kiss cruises or anything like that?
I did 5 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on 5 of those. I went on the second one first because I saw the set list from the first one, and I'm like, fuck, I got to go on the second one. So my brother and I went on the second one, and then I ended up going on 5. I went on 4 of them, and I was like, okay, I'm done with that. It's too expensive. I mean, it's really fun, super fun, and they play awesome shit. It's great. But then I was like, okay, I'm done unless they get Ace. And then like I skipped 2, and then they announced that Ace was going on as the like special guest or whatever on, I think
8.
number 9, 8. Is that what it was? 8. Yeah.
I went to number 9.
Okay, 9. Yeah, 9. I didn't go up. I didn't go back for 9. I went to the Ace one because I told my girlfriend, I'm like, we'll go back when Ace goes on, and then the first thing they announced was Ace was on at 8, and I'm like, okay, we got to go again. That was a lot of fun. Ace played a lot of cool. He opened up with Save Your Love. He played Hard Times and Dark Light. And, you could tell he didn't rehearse them too much. It was still awesome. You know? It was still pretty awesome just to see him play all those songs.
That's how it was with on number 9, because they had Bruce on there, and Bruce played all the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I mean, like some of the later 80s and 90s stuff that he did in the band that you never get to hear. I mean, great song, Who Wants to Be Lonely, all those songs. Him and the band he had was so killer. I mean, they sang it to a T. It was a really good band.
Yeah, he was on the 8th one too. I saw that. That was great.
He's supposed to be on 10. I'm supposed to go on 10 whenever it's going to happen. But
he did one earlier too. Before 8, he did one, and his brother and him were both. They were both in the band, but I didn't go on that. That was one of the ones I skipped.
I miss seeing Kiss with a great guitar player. It's no offense against Tommy. He does the look and the makeup and the whole Ace thing well, but I mean, Bruce and even Vinny when he was back in the day, and Ace when Ace, was
they were great.
Inventing that Kiss had really, really, really good guitar players and great guitar players, and Tommy Thayer. And that's like, it's no offense, but I mean, he's very, very, very fortunate that he had his gig to get his gig, because I've worked with a lot of guitar players that are struggling to even get their name known for anything, and they're amazing players. And Tom, like I said, he's a great guy, a great performer. He does that very well, but in my opinion, he happens to be like subpar to all the other guitar players that did Kiss, just as a player.
The highlight of that cruise that Ace was on, that Kiss Cruise 8, was the Sail Away show, which they always do an acoustic Sail Away show. They brought Ace up and Bruce up, so they had Tommy, Ace, and Bruce all sitting next to each other with acoustic guitars, and they did Nothing to Lose and Rock and Roll All Night, and I think 2000 Man, the 3 tunes. But it was just cool to. I never thought I'd see Tommy and Ace sitting on a stage together at all, and Bruce was sitting there too. That was, and Ace may never join him again, so that might be the last time you get to see Ace up there with Paul and Gene. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Hope not.
Ace was special, man. He spoke with that guitar and those solos. I mean, he was talking, and all those old guitar solos. There was a kind of like, it was crazy. He was speaking in those solos, and that's when I think Kiss finally went back, and even that's the one thing I got to say with Tommy is like he went back and went as close back to the Ace solos as any players did. And I think that was something consciously that Gene or Paul went back to Tommy and said, you know what, those solos are a part of these songs. And they really were. I mean, Ace's solos really spoke in a lot of those songs. And I think that's, like I said, if there's anything that I really give Tommy a lot of credit for is the fact that he went back and did that the closest possible way. I mean, he was the most traditional Ace I think you could possibly get in that position, because those solos were
they had
really
him
good.
I think he taught Ace the solos for the reunion tours.
Probably.
He taught Ace his solos.
I got a funny story about, speaking of Ace speaking. I became friendly with Bob Gruen, the photographer who did did the Dress to Kill album covers, did like the John Lennon with the I Love New York shirt, did all the New York Dolls. He was a legendary photographer. Anyway, he's like, you in town. I was in New York, and he's like, all right, let's go out and get a drink, or hanging out. He invites Ace Frehley out. And we hang out with Ace Frehley all night, and I was drinking with him at the bar. We were like laughing all night long, like, just out at some really loud bar or whatever. After he left, I was like, I don't think I understood one word he said the whole night. I was hanging out with him, laughing, we were drinking, but he was Ace Frehley. Going back to his guitar work, man, it did speak. He did have that feeling. Now you see it, it's a little rough, man. He kind of. But those riffs, I mean, he has to be up there with some of the most influential guitar players. I mean, who isn't? influenced by Ace Frehley that's familiar with that kind of stuff, you know?
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But,
I think you're right, Chris, when you're talking about the, like seeing a good guitar player with them, because he's, Tommy's great, he was great in Black and Blue. He was a great guitar player, but he just imitates it, it doesn't
He's
really,
a good cover.
he doesn't bring his own thing into it at all, but
Yeah, exactly.
like with Vinny and like with I don't know if Bruce Kulick was that innovative, I guess, of a guitar player, but he was a great guitar player.
Yeah.
But I mean, Vinny definitely was an innovator. Ace was an innovator, So those guys, I think, I agree with you. They always had like a hot shit guitar player, and they don't have that anymore, But they still have like a hot shit drummer, where Eric Singer's a great fucking drummer.
Yeah,
and
he's amazing.
he's amazing.
One of my favorite drummers, period. Him and Tirana and Tishy and Portnoy, those four to me, that they really freaking kill me. They're great fucking drummers, man.
Yeah.
I just, it's like I said, people go, "Oh, Caffery, you suck, you can't play." They're just like, whatever. I don't really care. It's like what I do, and I make the best me I can. That's all I've ever done my whole career, is be the best possible me. I never had to try to be so. I played a lot of Aliva's stuff, but I had enough of my time in my own bands to do what I wanted to do with my stuff. But it's like you said, I've played with a lot of like guitar players that are mind-blowing good guitar players. So it's just one of those things when you see Petrelli and Hoekstra, and you've got Alex, you've got these people, and Chris Oliva, and you step on stage and you watch these guys play and you know what they're doing. It's like I've been blessed with journeying the stage and sharing it with people that are just on that other level of guitar. So it's
I hear you.
One of those things.
Cool. So I guess we're going to move over to Mr. McEntee for his second choice of the night, or second round. And
okay, well, I agree that Ace Frehley was super influential. I mean, that's probably why. I really wanted to play bass, but I didn't know what kind of sound the bass had back then. When I first heard Kiss, I didn't know the difference between a bass guitar and a electric guitar and stuff like that. But basically Kiss made me want to play. I just didn't know what the hell to do. So I actually thought that the bass played like the clean guitar parts, and the guitars played the heavy guitar parts. I didn't know the difference, back then. But once I learned a little bit, about it, what Ace Frehley definitely was a big influence. I mean, it is true. The solos in those songs, it's kind of like, it's just like an old school way, I think, of playing guitar, where the guitar kind of like voices, like says something, or it's almost like singing the song to you back or something like that, or doing like singing something over it. To me, that's super awesome. I love guitar players that could just take whatever the song is, throw the solo on it to make that part even better, or make it jump out, or make it something special. So yeah, Ace really definitely is the man with that for sure.
And,
I mean,
the one thing Ace did that was really cool, because I actually got to know Ace because my mom was an oral surgeon's assistant and Ace was a patient, and he came in and he had the Ace ring on, and she talked to him, and I think I was about maybe 16 at the time or something like that, but she told Ace that I was like one of the reasons why I play guitar. So Ace invited me. I went to SIR and got to watch his first solo rehearsals with the Frehley's Comet. So I actually got to know him and those guys pretty well. And I went to see, a lot of that original Frehley's Comet tour. And Ace showed me a lot of things with what he did with Marshalls. And they were all simple little things, but he did. And what Ace also showed me he did was he used to have a 212 floor wedge, and that's where he got his guitar sound. His floor wedge was a guitar cabinet, and that's how he got that feedback that he had was coming at wasn't I guess monitor technology wasn't the same as it was now with us, but he was coming out of two 12-inch Celestians out of the floor to get that sound in that. So that was something that I thought was really cool.
It's always interesting hearing those 70s tricks.
Yeah, when we went into using only in-ears, I was really bummed out because I still am able to manage to have a floor wedge underneath my stage. They cut a hole and they put it there. They hate that I do it. They yell at me every freaking year that it has to, because I'm a pain in the ass. Every time they build a stage, they have to cut me a hole. But I do it for that same reason, so you could get the feedback out of the sound coming out of the out of the floor underneath you. So it's kind of cool. It's one thing I learned from him. But he was just really awesome, Ace, man. He was a great freaking player.
Okay, well, as far as I never got to see Kiss with makeup. I was just too young to go. I mean, I know some kids, their moms brought them to the shows, you know, especially around Dynasty era when it got really whatever. But my parents weren't doing it. Actually, I was really pissed because my brother went to see the Dynasty tour, and he didn't tell me about it until he came back. And I'm sure like my mom or dad said, like, don't tell him you're going, you know, until you come back or something, you know? So he told me all about it, and I was so bummed out, you know? Yeah, I think it was a Dynasty store because he was telling me like Gene Simmons was flying in the air. And I think that's the first time he like flew in the air. I don't think it was for a live too, but it was at Madison Square Garden where he seen it. And my mom there was no way my mom was going to let me go to Madison Square Garden being from Fairlawn, New Jersey, you know, at that time. It was just like, you're out of your mind. But anyway, a quick little cheesy story about Kiss and being young. Well, it has to do with the album too. The album I'm gonna be a poser now too and pick Alive because Alive it's a poser because it's kind of taking an easy way out because it has like all like amazing songs from.
Can I just interject? Can I just interject for 1 second? Being the resident poser, can I just interject? Can I just say that we're just gonna have to our metal cards would just put them. We just need to put them away right now because the fact that we're on a show talking about Kiss, probably the biggest poser band in history. It's okay. Everybody hug somebody. Okay. It's okay. It's okay to be a poser. It's okay. I bought that bass for that because I'm a poser. So I want to be like Pete Way. So I bought that bass. I'm a poser.
That's cool. No problem.
I bought that one because I want to be like Angus Young.
I have
poser, you know?
I have my share of poser albums and stuff too, so it's okay.
I have a Yes record hanging behind me. A Yes record. I'm a fucking poser.
That's a good album.
Yes.
There you go. Hey, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I picked Kiss Alive. It's only because I couldn't pick between the first Kiss album, and Dress to Kill, because both of them are so good that I just couldn't pick. And I just love the live versions of it. And that I was so young at the time when I got Alive that I used to like pretend to play in the band in my basement, like get like a couple of my friends, and we used to like play tennis rackets and just like listen to the album and stuff like that. And a really cheesy story is my mom would come down and do like laundry or something, you know, and when my mom did that, like we put on like a Beatles album. So we pretend we're being nice and playing the Beatles. And then when she went upstairs, like she didn't notice, then we turn on like Kiss Alive and start playing that and like headbanging and do whatever, you know. It was just the stupidest thing, but it's like, so young and just so into it, you know. I thought it was the coolest thing, you know. Like I said, I didn't even know, like, you know, bass, guitar. I knew the difference between drums and the stuff in the front, where, you know, you pluck or whatever, but we just had a great time with that. But yeah, I mean, Kiss Alive is just it really is a great album. I mean, it's just great. I mean, it really digs into those, especially the first album, Kiss songs. It really rocks those out really killer, you know. So, and I spent like hours just looking at that cover and just, you know, enjoying that album. Yeah, it was totally killer. So that's it.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
And I think that one of the I'm going out of turn, but one of the cheesiest Kiss songs ever written. It's on this album. It's called Bang Bang You.
Not all night. You're like all night.
Yeah.
Bang Bang You.
Or put the
what about
sex.
Asylum with the reflectors? That was pretty rough too.
When you said you were going to be a poser and pick an album, I thought you were going to pick like Crazy Nights for your number.
Yeah, picking all the good ones.
I should have. I know.
Crazy. Antonio Ballatore, it's a crazy night with you, my friend. Living out now. You're out there rocking and rolling.
But,
How many people were kissed for Halloween when they were kids?
That's what I was just gonna tell my kids. Every year I would go as a different member, but one year I did Ace Frehley.
Me
And I
too.
had my 8-track player, like taped to my back or some shit. I had tinfoil. I don't know what the fuck I had. I had a semi-hollow body, and I had a semi-hollow body, and I saved the smoke bomb that I stole from my brother. And I thought I had to, like, I was gonna go out, like everybody was gonna be waiting for me. I was gonna do this thing, and nobody. I think I got hit by it with an egg or something. You know, ran home. And that was it. You know, lit the guitar on fire, and that was it. You know.
So
Yeah, I did the Ace costume, and I remember, I forget how old, I was really young, but I tried to make the boots, and I think I used a pair of my snow boots, and I got a couple pieces of 2x4s and like hammered them up there and put the tinfoil around, and like 2 blocks down the road, the shoes fell apart, the came off. I looked like the frickin' frogman. It was like, the green shoes came out as a little kid walking around.
That was the best thing about the Kiss convention, seeing everybody dressing up and all the weirdos that came out, with the costumes and all this. Going back to, sorry to jump back, but the Kiss convention, to me, that was before internet shit. That was before you knew all the crazy collectible Kiss shit. It was hard to get it. And when you saw it, it was like a big deal. I mean, now
they mailed you it. They mailed you the letters to tell you when it was going to be.
But now you just can look up anything you want from that day, see what's, and get anything you want, But back then, that was the cool thing about those Kiss conventions, because you see all the crazy shit that you didn't know about, or,
Right.
And,
I actually still have a couple laminated signs that they used to send to my store because I was one of the ticket sellers. I forgot to bring it home, and it was snowing. I didn't go back, but I would have had it for a nice prop tonight. But in the restroom of Rock Fantasy, you can still see one of the original advertisements for whoever was playing there. I remember, and Anthony, Antonio, you actually went with me one year. I think set up with me.
Yeah, I think me and Diane went.
I still remember
he
going.
carried the box of bootlegs that you were selling.
But you couldn't sell bootlegs at that show.
I know.
Chris
You
Caffery's got
hear a knock on
bootlegs.
Steve's door, and someone's gonna hand him some papers.
Everybody sold bootlegs in 1979. I mean, I had a whole T-shirt stand at a fairgrounds. Every T-shirt there was bootleg. That was back in the day.
That's funny.
I'm sure this is a bootleg too. This is one at the fair. So.
Oh, it's gotta be it. It's funny.
Cool. So, Anthony, on your closing statement, you have an even better story to tell us about working with Kiss. So I'll get you out in the final.
I did. You see, this. I was for the box set for the.
Oh yeah, you can tell us now if you want. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I've been doing set design for the past 20 years too. It was like for everything from like, I don't know, you name it, from Rolling Stone covers to Vanity Fair to fucking you name it. I did sets for everybody, all still photography shit, commercials, some videos. But anyway, I got a call one day for Kiss that they wanted to do the DVD covers, and then I think it was it piggybacked the when they got the VH1 Rock Honors. So I got to build their sets, got to meet with them, talk about it. So I made these giant light up plexiglass heads that sat behind them while they did their interviews. And, I sat there and they had to do a full interview about the box set and about everything. So I was just sitting flanked right next to Paul and Gene. And, it was a really small set. And they were forgetting everything, the whole interview. And I was like, like kind of... fucking 1978, I'm like, I'm like everything. I'm like, and then Paul saw me like struggling. He's like, you know this one? And then after a while, he just kept on asking me, do you remember this one? Like for real. And they edited it all out. And he kept on asking me the question, like stupid shit, that we all know. Like, but that was like one of those things because I've gotten to work with a lot of celebrities, and like we all have, like some people are cool and some people are assholes, and I lucked out. And Paul and Gene were super fucking sweet to me, really nice. We were laughing, we had a good time, and they came in pro. I mean, I'm sure everybody has different experiences, and you read all this crazy shit. The more you read about all their fights and all that stuff, and you're like, But it was cool to be able to work with them and sit there and hear their stories right there and tell them their own stories. And, it was like, it was a cool experience. And then I made a miniature of it, and they signed, Paul and Gene signed it, and
Is that what's behind you right there now?
Yeah, that's the miniature version.
Okay.
I
That's
did
awesome.
4x8 panels, and I got that's dope. I was just looking. I've been looking at the Paul Stanley guitars. I've been wanting to buy
That's
the
cool.
PS10.
Yeah, Matt's
But I've
got
been looking-
something like that too. He was showing me when we first came on tonight. There you go.
Oh, nice.
This is
It's only
actually,
like 300 of those, right?
this is the second Ace Frehley guitar I have, and I got a crappy story about the first one. I'd gotten a really good one of the first ones, and I just came back out of living in the city to stay up here because I take care of my mom now, and I went to do a TV show thing with Jimmy Sturr in Branson, Missouri. It was the first time I ever left here, and I had my Ace Frehley guitar in my studio. I got home from being away for 8 days, and it was gone. Somebody got in the house when I was gone and stole
Holy
that
shit.
guitar.
Oh,
And the guitar was it was worth a decent amount. I couldn't get what it was worth from the insurance, but I wound up getting like $2,500, and I was able to find somebody that sold. This is still one of the original ones, but it's not one of the original 300 ones, but this is a decent one. It's for Ace signed this guitar for me. There was a show called Heavy Metal Head to Head, and I was on it with Ace. And the whole thing about that show is I'm supposed to ask Ace Frehley questions, and Ace Frehley's supposed to ask me questions. So we get there, and we knew each other. First of all, Ace was supposed to bring a guitar, and he forgot. I brought this because I wanted him to sign it, and I had a TSO guitar with me. So luckily, he played this guitar on that show. But
Cool.
on that, he had absolutely nothing prepared to ask me. Not one single question. So we're sitting there, and it's the whole format, and they got the producers of this show was on VH1 or something like that. And I sat there and asked questions to myself for him and got him to go, yeah, like that. Yeah. And after we were done, the producer was like, "Thank you. I can't believe you saved that." Because he had no idea what to do. He didn't know what he just showed up. And he was there for the show, and I was asking him questions, then I asked myself questions. But that was my Ace story with this guitar. He did get to play it and sign it, so it has that.
Sounds kind of like one of my shows that I do. I'm like Ace Frehley. I don't remember anything right now. So Antonio, I guess Andrew hopped out and came back on. He got out of line. So Andrew, you can go next.
All right. Number 2 would be Destroyer.
Woohoo!
And I don't really have much to say about it other than, it's basically Alive 2. The beginning of Alive 2 is the beginning of Destroyer. So it's,
Yeah.
that album cover was one of the covers that you sat down and you just stared at forever. It just, I don't know. Every time I think about it, it's the late 70s and the Yankees are in the World Series and Son of Sam was killing everybody in New York. And you know what I mean? It was just it was a fucking wild time, man. It was just, and being that young, I think I was 6, 7 years old or something like that. And, just being that young and having that type of imagery, just, in your face, it was unbelievable. And I think that was the Alive 2 tour, right? Was Destroyer?
Love Gun.
Right?
Alive
I was
2.
Love Gun. It was Love Gun.
Love Gun.
Right. I'll get to that after. My next time around. But yeah, that and my favorite track on that is Do You Love Me? And just that
track.
drum and vocal intro, and the way the guitars just kind of crash in, it's like, fuck, man. It kind of felt like it was a different track than anything I ever heard before, because it was just, it was just, I can't even describe it. It was just, even now I get like goosebumps thinking about the intro to that, and it was so overtly sexual, and like now you can't write songs like that anymore, man. You can't write lyrics like a lot of these songs anymore, because it's like there's a term.
I'm writing Christine 16 nowadays. See how far I get.
I was talking. You guys know Blas Elias, the drummer Blas Elias, who plays in TSO. Yeah. So, and he was in Slaughter back in the day. Well, I played with him a lot on and off, and we were talking about these lyrics from the 70s, because he was doing this project and there was a singer, and I said, "So how's it going?" He's like, "Yeah, I really dig the music, but the the songs, the lyrics are kind of date rapey. I go, date rapey? He's like, yeah. When you're 20 and you're, 25 and, and it's the 70s or the 80s and you're writing these songs about banging chicks and, and not washing your dick and all that shit, it's like it was cool back then. But now when you're like 50 years old, 55 years old and you're cruising the strip, looking to get laid, it's like, dude, fucking go home to your kids, dude. You know what I mean?
Me and my girl just watched. She never saw Saturday Night Fever, and I was like, I haven't seen it in forever. I was like, this is such a great movie, And we're watching. And she's like, this is pretty date rapey. She got creeped out by the whole thing, and it's great. There's a lot of great stuff in there.
Now that's the term that him and I use for like those type of lyrics. Like, yeah, man, we'll do date rapey for me. I don't know. I can't get down with that now, But
Date rapey.
You Love Me was kind of like that. You like my 7-inch leather heel. Oh, I thought you were gonna say your dick, dude, but you're talking about your shoes. Fuck. You know what I mean? Like, all right, cool.
That production on that record, I know some people don't love it. It just created a mood to that album. I think that out of all the Kiss records, when I hear that record, it makes me think of how I felt when I was the age when I heard it. It brings you right back to when you first heard that album. That production does that for you on that.
What's up, Will?
What's up, man?
Will.
Sorry.
Hey, Will.
Hey.
Sorry.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Yeah. I just got home, man. Sorry about
Trying
that.
to be me coming late? No.
We always run late.
late.
Our shows get longer every week because we're a bunch of guys sitting around talking about shit we like and interesting stuff. But so where were we last before Will came out? Were you done, Andrew, with your segment?
We were on date rape and
We were talking about date rape and
Oh, you're gonna go talk about it. What about
7-inch and date rape?
old men trying to pick up young women. And,
what about
there's
the
a term
lyrics?
for it. In the hip hop world, I think it's in England. There's a term for it. They're called bear MCs, because they're too old. So they're too old. So you're a bear MC. Go home to your kids. Get out of the booth. Go home to your kids. So so we're gonna call these guys.
I mean, the
bear MCs, bear rock stars. So
I think the creepiest lyric from a Kiss song with all that stuff going on is what is it from Going
blind?
93
Oh.
and
93 or 16.
16. I'm like, all right, that's not gonna fly when we can't play Baby It's Cold Outside anymore.
Unless you're Bill Wyman. No.
Andrew
about
has
you
a great death
the
metal of
ladies'
Baby
room?
It's Cold Outside if you haven't caught it yet.
I mean, ladies' room's a little creepy. I'll go in the ladies' room and meet you there. How's that sound?
Meet you.
Well, there's probably a bunch of people, probably a couple of ladies not gonna like that.
So, Will Carroll,
Yo.
welcome to the show, and I'm gonna let you do 2 albums in a row since you came in late, and then you can catch right up to us because we're gonna be doing our Jimi and Chris, and then we're gonna do our final roundy round here. So, welcome. And Will's a big Kiss fan. I've talked to him several times about Kiss.
Oh yeah. So we're doing like number 3 and number 1.
Yeah, so you can give us 3 and 2 in this segment, and anything else you want to add.
3, 1, 3.
Yeah.
I gave all 3.
I guess number 3 would be Rock and Roll Over. That's my favorite of the first 6 albums. That's my favorite one. I think it's just the heaviest and great production. The drums sound huge, which is rare for Peter Criss. But I do love the drumming on that album and just the album cover, everything about it. Number 2 would be Dynasty. That's my favorite 70s album by Kiss. I think each member came into their own completely on that album, and all 4 characters were very well represented with 2000 Man and Gene Simmons with Electric Eye. Yeah, Electric Eye. Yeah, X-Ray Eyes. X-Ray Eyes. And even Peter Criss with Dirty Livin'. All those songs are really killer character songs. Those are my number 3 and number 2.
Awesome.
The only song Peter played on the record.
Yeah, that's right.
Anton.
Anton Fig.
Oh yeah, wow.
So
I
There was
think
a lot of
Jimmy
MIAs on some of those Kiss records with
Yeah.
Peter and Ace. So
Yep.
that was
towards the end.
missing in alcohol wherever. It was.
So we're back around the bend to Jimmy. How you doing, Jimmy? You're back.
Good. So I wanted to first share, because you were sharing guitars. This was Peter Chris's promo stick that they tried to show him, you know, that they wanted to give him to play. You know, it's this big gigantic stick like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
It's got his autograph on there.
Good luck with that.
That's why he rejected him. He went with the A heads.
Yeah.
So my second album is Rock and Roll Over 2.
It is.
I there's a lot of songs on this album that just really, you know, that they still play today. You know, they do Hard Luck Woman, obviously Dr. Love. It's just, you know, what really drove me to this album was actually the cover. It was just such a unique,
fucking cool cover.
I mean,
It is a really cool cover.
I mean, they had some, I mean, you have Destroyer, and then you have this one, and it's like, wow, what is, you know, and it's just, you know, that was one of the real main things that drove me to that album, was just that, you know, that album cover.
Interesting story. We were talking about bootlegs. It was a few years ago. I think it was around the time, Jimmy, you might remember because you live in the area like Chris does. And there was a amphitheater someone decided to build out on Route 209 in the middle of fucking nowheres. And Kiss played there. Were you there? Was that it was out by what is it, Bushkill Falls?
No, I didn't go to that one.
Oh yeah, and I bought a bootleg T-shirt in the parking lot or whatever, and it was the Rock and Roll Over cover, but it had Tommy and Eric Singer. You could just tell.
Hey.
And it was, and I still have that stuck in my closet, and it doesn't fit me anymore. But I thought it was such a cool artifact. And then there's a lot of people like, "Oh my God, what an awful shirt! It doesn't have the real guys on." But that was my weird story for Rock and Roll Over.
Kind of cool though.
Yeah.
I mean, I love some of the old bootleg. I mean, if you look at some of the old concert shirts from the 70s and 80s, the bootleg ones are worth more than the originals. Like, because they were not made mass produced. Some people in certain cities would make them.
Here's a Steve special.
That didn't come from me.
Oh yes, it did. It most certainly
that might
did.
have come from the Kiss convention or something.
He
I
didn't sell that to you.
Oh, yeah. Chris Caffery, you got anything to add on this round, or did you give us all three?
I gave a couple favorites, but everybody was doing honorable mentions. I have to give, and I know it's not technically one of them because they did four at once, but I think Ace's solo record was
dude.
That record is really good, top to bottom. That thing just like, first of all, it kicked the ass out of every other solo record.
Yeah, it did.
But flat down it. I mean, Paul's record had a couple good songs. Gene's record had a couple good, but Ace's record was a great record. And it's like, you know, come on, New York Groove is one of the biggest Kiss singles they ever had, and it was on a solo record. That record was special, so I just wanted to make a little mention of that album. I think that I know everybody has the solo records. I had all four of them. I think I seriously played Peter's once.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't put it on again. I don't think it made it past the first play. It's a great shape. That one doesn't look anything like the other ones. It's perfect. No scratches.
You know, it's funny about that. What's funny about that, Chris, is like now, like I have, you know, Amazon Music, I have, you know, Apple Music, and I can listen to anything, you know, anything I want to. And I'm going back, like I listened to Exile on Main Street today, you know, off topic, but I just, you know, because somebody mentioned it and I wanted to hear it, you know, so boom, there it is. So but I still have, after you said that, I have no interest in listening to Peter's solo record. I couldn't tell you, I never listened to The Elder. I never listened to Unmasked. I never listened either. I think I heard Torpedo Girls once, and that was it. You know what I mean? I think once, and I think it was because Scott Kopek played it, made a joke about it. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I played it, but I hear you, like that. Those records are his solo record is like that should have just been one Kiss record with that whole record and Love and Change on it, and that was it. You know what I mean?
That was a really good record.
Instead of soaking us for 3 other fucking albums. You know?
his first Frehley's Comet record was very good too. That was a
was.
good album as well. Ace put out some really good music, so I was always happy every time. I was happy when I heard the Ace songs because they were always fun. You know, he wasn't the greatest singer in the world, but Ace's songs were fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And what was Ace's story that he said that the first time they went to Japan and they had Shock Me Out, and he was listening to the crowd, and they had the L&R thing going on, and it sounded like they were singing Chop Meat, and Ace had to stop playing because he couldn't stop laughing. And I could just see him doing that because he said, "Oh, it sounds like they're a chopped meat." And he couldn't keep playing. I mean, that Tom Snyder interview has to be one of the most priceless pieces of freaking television.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When he calls himself the plumber, and it's just Tom Snyder's laughing, and Gene Simmons is so disgusted with the fact that Tom Snyder loves Ace Frehley. He's cracking him up. And Ace is so hammered. It's just like he shows up there freaking blind drunk, and it's just so funny. That whole interview. So Ace was special. I mean, I think for most people, I mean, if a lot of people love Gene because he was the demon, and the chicks love Paul, but Ace was kind of like, I think most of the guys really dug Ace. I think Ace was just like, he was the spaceman.
Yeah.
Freaking
That's
cool.
that's a good point. We got to ask as we go around for the last one. I'm going to ask you who your favorite.
All right.
So Chris's favorite is Ace Frehley. We just found out.
Chris has already talked 40 times, so I've had like another 40 shows in one show.
All right, good. Well, I'm going to do we're going around one more time, and this is my closing statement. I guess that might have been Chris's too. He said he's
that's it. I'm done.
So I'm going to do my number 2 album.
Sorry, that sounded funny.
Creatures of the Night, my number 2. I'm doing my number 2. Creatures of the Night. I thought that that album was something that kind of brought me back into them a little bit because I lost them with Elder and Unmasked and all that stuff in Dynasty.
Totally agree.
I got to listen to Dynasty more now because I really overlooked it. But I thought this brought him back into the metal and the hard rock scene with Creatures of the Night. Starts off really brutal and heavy song. And I Love It Loud, of course, and War Machine.
Yeah.
Fucking War Machine, dude. Yeah.
I love that. I like that record a lot. That's a fun. That's a fun.
ECW wrestling, of course, that was Taz's entrance theme, and it was such a great if you were into ECW and used to go to wrestling back then. I mean, just hearing that, they hear that riff down, and great album. So that's my number 2. And since I'm going to do my number 1, and then we'll just close everything around. My number 1's Destroyer. I talked about it earlier. I wore this thing out. This is not my original copy because I picked this up a few years ago, but it is I think an original pressing. It looks pretty good shape, but I love this thing top to bottom. I mean, opening with that radio intro, of course, with Detroit Rock City. Probably my favorite Kiss song ever, God of Thunder, is on it. King of the Nighttime World. I love Flaming Youth. I love Sweet Pain. I love all of it. I mean, of course, Death is their big radio hit is on here too. And I guess that's all I can say about it. And I want to thank everybody for joining. We're going to go around. This is what I call the closing statements of it. Anybody that hadn't given their final album and anything else they want to add to the end of the show. And I'll be back on Thursday taping another show this week. And Andrew Freeman has helped set that up. He's going to be with us. We're going to be talking about Ronnie James Dio and his time with Black Sabbath and Heaven and Hell. And John McEntee will be joining me. Chris will be joining me on Thursday also. And
we're talking like usual. A lot of Dio stories, no?
Dio stories, and we're gonna have a special guest. Vinny Appice is gonna come onto the show on Thursday, so be sure to look out for that. And I want to thank everybody that's given time tonight, and I hope you're all having a great time. People at home listening, and tell us some of your Kiss stories or your Kiss favorite albums and comments. So please take a minute to subscribe and like, and buy merchandise from all these bands that are on here tonight. Go on their websites, so please. So Matt, your final closing statements for tonight's show, and thanks for coming on the first time around the program.
I went backwards because I started this thing, so I didn't know we were going 3, 2, 1. So
that's fine.
I started with my favorite, Hotter Than Hell. I did Hotter Than Hell, then Rock and Roll Over. So my third favorite is Dynasty, and I like Dynasty. I think the best thing about Dynasty is that, you know, prior to Ace's solo album, he only sang on Shock Me. Then he did that whole album, and outsold the rest of the guys, and I think he came into Dynasty with a newfound, confidence or whatever. And he had more songs on Dynasty than Gene did. He had 3 tunes. Gene only had 2, and those 3 songs are just as good as the solo out. Just like he kicked ass on the solo album, he kicked more ass on Dynasty again. I actually I like his 3 tunes he threw on Unmasked as well. Even
Me too. Me too.
I like the Elder though, so what do I fucking know?
So do I. So do I.
The Peter Criss solo album is the only thing they did back then that I don't like, and we on Ringworm.
You listen to it.
On Ringworm tours, we every time we go on a tour, we force ourselves to sit through that entire album on a long drive, and we all suffer through it, and we all go, "Come on, James, turn it off," and he's like, "No," and we listen to the whole thing every time. At least one. It's painful though, I will say. But yeah, that's it. Those are my 3: Hotter Than Hell, Rock and Roll Over, and Dynasty. Those are my 3 favorites. I got Ace is my dude. I guy's my favorite guy for sure. I got him tattooed up there. He signed it.
Okay.
Definitely an Ace guy. But I like, all the original guys are great, and I like everything they did up to Asylum. I thought they were batting 1,000 up to Asylum. Then
I agree, man. Asylum was the last good album.
Yeah, then Crazy Nights was too Bon Jovi for me, especially in 1987 when I was 16 and listening to Merciful Fate shit. I did not care about Crazy Nights at all.
Come on, you
Not
missed
even
out on
worse
Bang
with
Bang You.
I mean, nowadays I know Crazy Nights back to front. I've gone back and, there's not really, the only ones I don't listen to at all are Sonic Boom and Monster. But
Monster's a good album.
Monster is a good album.
yeah, it's okay, I guess.
Monster Energy drink, right?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. The logo on the album looks like the Monster Energy drink. So
There had to be some
Probably
kind of
money
a-
in there somewhere.
Yeah, it probably had an
Somebody.
endorsement.
yeah,
Wow, this one's never been opened. I don't know how this ended up in my collection. Wow. I've heard the album. I guess
I've never
opened
even
it.
listened to that record.
didn't
Yeah, I
listen
never
to
heard it either.
Either.
Sonic Boom's got Say
Never heard
Yeah
that
on it,
one
right?
either.
I like Say Yeah.
Yeah, there was one song I heard on the radio from Sonic Boom, which was actually pretty good. It sounded like it was like a ripoff of like Burn by Deep Purple or something.
That was
Really?
a Walmart exclusive.
Modern day Delilah.
That was
Maybe. I don't remember the song. I just remember
I remember
hearing
that
it and
song.
being like, wow, it's actually a pretty cool riff.
I
Mm.
think it's modern day Delilah.
You
Yeah.
might be talking about Hell or Hallelujah from Monster. That sounds kind of like Burn, I think.
that sounds like Burn.
Yeah,
Definitely
you
sounds
might be
like
talking
Burn.
about Hell or Hallelujah.
Well, Gene
Yeah.
probably wrote that song right back at the time where he was the first person to do the devil horns.
Yeah, you
He
claimed
did
say that,
to
didn't he?
copyright that, didn't he? So Matt, it
Well,
looks like you had
Stereo-
another makeup face painted tattoo on your other arm.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, there's a Dio too while you were talking about Dio.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
awesome,
That was the first tattoo I got, was that Kiss Army one. right
nice.
There's actually a picture of Ronnie with his thing back in a band. I think it was a band before Elf or something. He had that many years before Gene Simmons turned around and said he copyrighted it.
Cool. Well, Matt, are you finished? Or do you
Yeah,
wanna cut you off? All right, John McEntee, your final closing statements for this episode of the special Kiss edition Rock Fantasy Files.
Okay, well, my favorite album is Hotter Than Hell. I just every time I want to listen to Kiss, I pop on that album, and it just has like that hard rock edge to it. I know the production isn't as good as some of the other stuff, but I like that 70s vibe on that production on that album.
It adds to the rawness of it for sure.
Yeah, and I mean those songs are probably their darkest songs.
Parasite.
Going Blind and stuff. I mean, there's so many Parasite.
Range Weight
Ah.
Heavy.
Yeah, amazing songs on that. And I like how, there's lots of like, just a lot of Peter Criss singing on it, and a lot of like switching vocal stuff on that album. I think it's good. I like that about the early Kiss stuff too, is just certain songs will have like different people singing throughout the song and just whoever works on that part and stuff. So I really like that. And as far as like my favorite member, man, it's tough to say. I mean, I have to go with when I was a kid. It was Gene Simmons as a kid. I mean, I know now it's controversial, and everyone thinks of him just as like the money man or whatever, but I grew up with Gene Simmons as being just the demon, and
Yeah.
as a young kid, that was totally cool. And I agree. Ace is also was amazing. I mean, I like them all. The only one I really didn't want to be is Paul. I thought Paul was too feminine or something, you know, but all the other guys, you know, was really, you know, pretty rocking and stuff. They all had something cool about it. And I do really, I really, you know, love Eric Carr too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
You know, I seen him 2 times on tour for the Asylum tour and on Animalize. And I mean, I didn't know a lot about drum playing, but man, he kicked ass. I mean, the whole band kicked ass. It was just a great time to see him. I mean, I know it's without makeup, but you know, Paul Stanley was at his peak vocal wise around that time, you know, and they were like, you know, they had a lot of great songs off the Lick It Up and Creatures album, but then they would throw in some classics. It was kind of like the perfect, for me, it was the perfect mesh of like old and you know, newer songs. And like I said, Paul's vocals were probably at his peak. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, like you said before, the vocals are just amazing on that.
Hey,
But,
when we saw him on the Asylum tour, was Wasp opening?
I think I seen him at Madison Square Garden. I think it was Black and Blue opened up.
Black and Blue.
Yeah, Black and Blue. At least it was Madison Square Garden.
Then the tour after that, Blackie Lawless switched to guitar and started dancing around like Paul Stanley. For real.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
He toured with this, and then the next tour, he was playing guitar and dancing like Paul Stanley. Exactly. Right after they Wasp opened for Kiss, and it killed Wasp. It was so weird.
That's when they brought Johnny Rod in, right? Wasn't Johnny Rod?
Yeah. I saw Wasp and Slayer at the Capitol Theater.
I've seen that, yeah.
And Slayer was done, and you watched 1,500 people walk out the door. It was like paraded out the door.
But yeah, what was it? But I thought, I mean, honestly, for the especially the Animalized tour, I mean, Kiss was on fire. They were going for it, you know. The vibe was still really good. I mean, it's true. I think on Asylum it started to get a little hokey or whatever, but it still was a really killer show. And those are the only 2 times I seen him. I never actually seen him with makeup, even at any of the reunion shows.
You should have went to those with all of us Cleveland guys. Went to like 5 of those shows.
Dude,
around back then.
Oh, I know. I thought you guys were crazy, like waiting out all night because you guys wanted to go to the first show in Detroit, or like you, Rojack, and Dwayne probably, and I forget, but yeah, I just wasn't into it at that time, you know. I don't know. It took me a while to actually get back into him after the 80s. It wasn't until at least 2012 or something when I just I probably just listened to Hotter Than Hell was probably the one. I heard that and I was just like, oh shit, this is actually pretty good. I just kind of chalked it up. I was like, you know, I liked it when I was a kid and whatever. It's kind of cheesy. And, you know, they did so many kind of hokey things over the years and stuff.
Sure.
Just kind of don't get excited, you know, to want to support them. But you listen to that old stuff and it always brings you back to just, you know, it was just great music. And, you know, now I'm at the point where I just put all that crap aside. I mean, there's so much inner conflict with the bands and the different members and stuff. And, you know, to me, they just sound like they all screwed up and made stupid decisions. And if for some reason they just can't hold it together, but, you know, they're doing what they have to do now. And I appreciate what they're doing now. And I actually wanted to go see them this year. They were actually playing in Greensboro where I live now. And it just happened to be a time when I was on fucking tour. The one time they're playing where I could have actually just drove to the show, you know, in like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And the final tour, hopefully once it's all over, they'll do another final tour. I mean, I know Paul doesn't sound the best now, but it's cool, you know. Yeah,
they're still on the final tour, like Deep Purple.
Yeah, they are.
Deep Purple's on the Infinite tour.
I mean, you know, bands like them, like the Scorpions, aren't they like on their 9th?
I saw them at 2 of their farewell tours, yes.
Yeah, so I guess now I should probably start doing the Final Incantation tour now. I don't have to actually end until whenever. You know, I could end until.
I mean, you what like Slayer? You know, you got to do. Well, you're going to do 32 legs of the Final Incantation tour. That's all. You know.
Yeah, just the last 10 years. You know.
Yeah.
It's a good way to sell merch. You know, that's a great way.
Then you get to that technical thing where a show isn't a tour, so they have the final tour that they turn around and they
still do a show
somewhere. there.
Yeah.
Then you could do a festival tour because that's not really a tour. That's just 5 festivals. And
It's a
it
celebration.
comes back that way. It like springs back together again. Then Gene Simmons is there going more bass and sound check. Did you guys see that video from Dubai, the sound check video of Gene?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny because they're doing a song and through the whole entire song, I forget which one it is, Gene just keeps going more bass in the monitor asking for him more bass. And
Yo,
he
he's
says it like 15 times in this sound check video. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah. I saw that. Cool. So John, I guess are you all wrapped up there?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate being on here. It's great to be with all you guys. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's always a fun time. Antonio, your statements, if you have any for
right off the bat. I didn't realize to do it like that. But I as far as favorite members, Gene Simmons back when I was a kid, and Ace Frehley, back and forth between those two guys, and but what I like this is I'm not going to be around for the Dio tribute. I'll tell you my Dio story. when he did his first solo tour, I think it was Crocus and Blackfoot opened up at the Civic Center.
Yeah.
And that was, like back in the day, I don't know, I'm sure all you guys had it, your denim jacket, and you would paint your favorite band or whatever on the back. Dio, Holy Diver was my favorite one. And I painted that, and I did this, I ripped up this shirt and I drew Dio on it, and it was like blood stains on it, some kid shit. And I got up to the front and I was holding it up, and Dio gave me the horns, and I threw it to him, and he grabbed it and held it up. And I was like, and he put it on the drum riser, and
awesome.
That's my Dio story. Years later, I kind of became friends with his wife after he passed away. I guess she was a fan of one of my shows, and I would shop at her one. She had like an antique store up in the valley, and really sweet lady. And anyway,
cool. Awesome.
That's it. I mean, like I said, it was fun being a part of this. It was good seeing you guys.
Hey, you too, man.
Last time I saw Andrew, I was singing at the class. I was on stage with you singing maybe a whole lot of Rosie or something. I don't know.
Shit. Who was that?
Yeah. I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's been a while, dude.
It's been a while, man. So it's good to see you guys. Good to see Chris.
Hey, man.
And it was nice being a part of this.
And what we're going to work on in a couple of weeks, I've even talked to Brian from Bent Circus. We're going to put on a Middletown, like Hudson Valley show we want to do, where we're just going to talk about stuff that went on, like Rock 3 and Class. And
you can't do that without Pete from Record World.
Yeah.
We'll get Pete on if he wants to come on. But
I'll leave the guest list first before we do that.
Yeah, all right. The Duke.
He didn't have a name. He was Pete from Record World.
Pete Shevzik, man.
I still talk to Pete. I talked to him during the pandemic. So Jimmy. Let's talk to you, and you had a little story. We were talking the other day, when we were talking one morning about Eric Carr. For people that know, here in Middletown is where Eric Carr's, his funeral was here. He was buried in the Hudson Valley, and his parents kept his memory alive a long time, and they had a store in the Orange Plaza when it was open, and then moved it over to Fishkill.
To the Duchess.
Was he from up there?
Yeah, he was from like the Marlboro area.
Oh, really?
And it was like
he's buried in Marlboro. He's buried in a cemetery in Marlboro.
Okay.
Yep. And his parents, they had, after they left the Orange County Mall, they were in the Fishkill Mall, and at like a service merchandise, they had a big flea market, and they were selling like his Crazy Nights drum set with the silver, with the And it's funny because the local music store by me had the other half of the drum set. Let's Jam and Larry Hellweg and them guys had the whole another set of it that was still the same drum set. So I don't know if they all went together or how it worked, but there was definitely 2 kits that I've seen that were both purchased.
My German Shepherd says I have to take him out now, so I'm leaving you guys. I'll see you guys with Andy James Theo on Thursday. We'll be there. We rock. I'll see you.
In the mirror.
Hey, I'm going, dog.
Good night.
So my last and final album is the original.
There you
go. This copy actually is the original copy. It's the first pressing without Kissing Time. if you know the story, the album wasn't selling. So they asked him to come back in, record a cover of Kissing Time. Most people have that copy because it's, you know, they did it so quick. But this copy that I have, my father bought in 1974.
Wow.
And that picture right there is what made me like Kiss. I was going through his albums, Beatles, Stevie Wonder, Elton John, and all of a sudden this pops up and I was like,
Whoa.
what is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, that is, and then I came across obviously Dressed to Kill. And I'm just like, so I don't even know that they have these wild kabuki costumes. I see them dressed up like that. And I'm just like I need to know who these. So actually, I pull this one up on the album cover. And so I have no idea that they, like I said, they wear those crazy costumes, but my father ends up showing me, stuff about them. And then it took off from there. And I've been collecting, I would say probably 42 years,
So how much you think Kiss owes you about now?
I would say probably $20,000 or $30,000.
Yeah.
So
I have a lot of stuff, and
I'm not going to let you leave without showing everyone your Kiss sleeping bag.
Oh yeah, I do have this Kiss sleeping bag.
Jesus.
Do you have one of those, Will?
No, man, I don't.
And I wonder what would that go for on eBay right now if that was on there?
Probably about $600 or $700.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That's not too bad.
Do you have the Kiss like Walmart, not Walmart, the Kmart shirt? I think it was either Kmart or Service Merchandise. No, maybe it's Sears had like a Kiss shirt back in like 78 or
I don't
something.
remember that.
They had one for each member from Sears. I had two.
I had one that had the whole band on it. I was like super young, My mom like bought it for me. She's like, I seen a Kiss shirt in I think it was Sears. I can't remember though.
Oh, cool. What color was the shirt? Red or brown?
I think it was like white and it had like a colored sleeve, maybe a red sleeve on, like a little cuffling or whatever.
Did it come with a free Craftsman tape measure?
Maybe.
Could
have, yeah.
One of the things
I know what he's talking about. He's talking about it's like a baseball style shirt, half sleeve. The sleeve is red, and I think the Kiss on it was red as well.
I think so. It was a long time ago. I mean, I don't even know what happened to the shirt. Like
you had,
Sears also made I think it was Sears. They made shirts for each individual member. Yeah. Remember, Gene's was a tan T-shirt, and Peter's was red.
I do remember that.
Purple.
I don't remember that.
And it was like that iron-on kind of like fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would peel off after.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. It would have the picture of the member and then a cartoon drawing of him right next to the photograph. They're pretty rare.
I remember that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
So, I mean, collectively, how much you think Kiss has soaked us for over the years?
Oh, fuck them.
Sorry, I can't get off of it.
A lot more for some. I wanted to say thank you for having me. It was good seeing old friends and meeting new ones. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, and we'll do something else down the road. I'm sure. I'm going to have you back when we do that local Middletown thing.
No problem.
There was also like a crossover, if you remember. I mean, there was the 70s Kiss stuff, like the merchandise, but then like in the 90s, Spencer Gift was full of stuff. Like,
when the reunion,
like white boxes from that era, like there was so much of it. Like you would walk into Spencer's and it was nothing but Kiss stuff.
That's what a lot of this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of that stuff too.
So you got that stuff. You got the plates.
Well,
that's because that was the reunion tour. So that's what you're talking 96 when they did the reunion tour. They resparked all the stuff. That's when these came out.
Yeah, those big figures. Yeah, they're huge.
They have two sets of those. They have that one, which is that was considered Destroyer, and then they have Love Gun ones.
All right, speaking of plates, this I had a set of these. These were the Marilyn Manson video Starfucker. You remember that video?
Yeah.
There was like a scene where they're throwing all the balls at the plates. I don't know if you remember. Anyway, my friend was the art director on there, and he gave me a set of these afterwards.
Frisbee.
Awesome.
Did you
Kiss
eat
Frisbee.
pancakes on
Awesome.
those yet?
What's that?
No, I said, did you have your pancake breakfast on that this morning?
I actually did, yeah.
You can have
Do you
some
make,
Kiss.
does it make you eat all your food though? Do you eat all your food so you can see it?
Well,
No, you gotta, yeah, Funko's still making stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Auto World, which is
You can
I'm
have,
in
you
the
can have
slot
some
cars.
Kiss Funko cereal.
oh, that's cool.
Now, do you have the Auto World HO drag strip?
No, I don't have that one.
That
Do you
came
have
out,
the,
like 10
You have
years
the
ago.
Funko Andrew Freeman?
Oh, that's
Funko Andrew
awesome.
Freeman
I don't have
guy?
that one.
That's
You
awesome.
have that one?
Oh man.
That's a good
pretty
one.
cool.
Cool. So, and then they did the big crossover with WCW Wrestling, where they were actually going to bring
Yeah.
in all the wrestlers, but the only one they ever brought in was the Demon, who
Yeah.
Dale Toberg
Dale
played.
yeah.
Was the Demon, and he was at that same Kiss convention when Dora was there, and I had the
Yeah.
pro wrestlers. It was just one of those great times that you'll never have back, having all them at the same thing. So Andrew, I guess we got to get back to you and give your final statements, because we didn't do it yet, did we? We've lost track.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. Yeah, I haven't done final yet. So,
Well, I've lost track of the ship here.
yeah, great. You're a great host.
I'm just like Ace Frehley when he showed up to do the questions, and Chris had to make up his
Yeah,
own.
right.
I thought Steve was a better show host when he hosted Tales from the Crypt all those years ago. So.
You're saying I'm the crypt keeper? I'm not Garth Algar?
Whatever you want to be, buddy. Whatever you
All
want.
right, thank you for coming on. So
Thank you for having me. My favorite, absolute favorite, is a tie, and it's between Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. I am the Kiss fan that got out of them and then got back into them and got out of them. So it was definitely a kids thing for me. I still love listening to some of the stuff, but these two records are the ones that you get the goosebumps from. They every time I hear it, like now, especially now with the pandemic going on and not really doing much, music playing, I've kind of discovered this whole, hey, we should do a cover. We should do one of these pandemic covers, where you get a guy from this band, a guy from that band.
yeah.
And it's always like, anytime I hear like I Want You or I Stole Your Love,
Love those songs.
or even just Love Gun,
Love those songs.
like any, I'm like, oh, we got to do cover that. We got to do cover that. Oh, we got to cover that one, and it's I'm becoming this crazy old man with these cover songs because because there's so many on these two albums for me, just preparing for this and going through them again. And, because I can't, some stuff I can go and say, oh yeah, I know this and I know that. I know what album that's on, but I had to review a little bit because it's been a while. So, and just going through the track listing of these two songs and just the beginning of both the records, how they start,
That's great.
it's one is just really bombastic, and it's like, holy fuck, and it kind of blows you away. But the other one is kind of, you think that they're starting with a ballad and it just comes out of nowhere, and I remember just tearing my fucking head off both records when I listened to them. So that point from like 77 to like 80, I don't know, 81, I guess, it was just blew me away. And it was the first time I ever saw, around that time was the first time I ever saw them. There was an HBO special, and everybody remembered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was an
Dynasty,
HBO
right?
special. I ever saw that, the first time I ever saw them live. And I think John was saying something about how, Gene is like, nowadays is like he's the entrepreneur. Certain guys should not do too many interviews. You know what I mean? Like it kind of ruins your image of them from back in the day. And I think he's one of those guys that, like, I just wish he wouldn't, some of the things he says when he tells people to not do the music, but don't go in the music business. It's not worth it anymore. Just like, shut up, dude. Why would you say
Rock
that?
is dead.
But back then he was the most evilest motherfucker on the planet. You know what I mean? When I saw him, I think I was 10 when that thing came out, and it just the blood dripping down his fucking face. And you're like, what the fuck? It just wasn't normal. You know what I mean? It wasn't what you saw every day. Nowadays, I can see where people like to think the guy's a yutz, but it's not. Back then, it was like he was
It was intense. Yeah.
evil, man. You know,
Yes.
and breathing fire. Like, what the fuck? You know, like that stuff just blew me away. He's my second favorite Kiss member because I started as a guitar player. So Ace is always my favorite. Was my favorite Kiss member, and for obvious reasons, because he made me pick up a guitar, and that's the guy I was with the tennis racket whenever I put the record on, and you know, my first guitar was a Wilson tennis racket, so it's
Yes.
you know,
Me
and
too.
so yeah, so those two records, you know, they made Kiss what they were and what they are now. That's what I always think of Kiss, and I've seen behind the curtain. You know, our friend Fran Stuber is Paul's tech, and he's been his tech for I don't know how 10, 15 years. You know, and so I've been fortunate to get behind the curtain and see them. And see him get yelled at, and see, you know, them be prima donnas, and you know, I still get those goosebumps. I've saw them one time when Paul had some heart issue, you know, and he had to go to the hospital. So they played 3-piece at Saboba Casino out in the middle of the Inland Empire in California, and it was a 3-piece. It was, you know, Paul. I mean, it was Gene and Tommy and Eric playing, and it wasn't the greatest show, but man, it was a fucking interesting show to see. You know what I mean? So and at that show, I was standing, you know, just kind of hanging out, talking to somebody, and Eric Singer walks up to me, and he's in the full Peter Criss makeup, and he's like, you know, he's a short guy, but he's 10 foot tall in those fucking boots. So when he walks up to me, he's like, hey, you're the dude who sings for Lynch Mob. And I go, like, holy shit, Peter Criss knows my name. You know, Peter Criss knows who I am, you know, like, holy fuck, you know. And then he walked away, and, you know, that was the 10-year-old decided me. Then I was like, ugh, fucking Eric Singer. You know what I mean? Like, just because the makeup, you know, like, kind of was like, oh my God, you know, but well, he played Badlands. He was cool. So, you know, but it's still, as an adult, you know, well, whatever the fuck I am, as an adult, it still has an effect on me, you know, that situation where, you know, a guy in the makeup, and it was the guy in Kiss who comes and talks to you, and not on top of that recognize you. It's like, you know, just because of who he's dressed like and who he is in that element, in that, you know, in that atmosphere, I guess, you know, it really kind of blew me away. And it's still to at the time, I don't know how old I was, but it was probably about 8 years ago or so. You know, I was supposed to be an adult, but I was a kid again when just by him saying something to me, I was just a fucking kid again, you know. So anyway, there you go. Those are my favorite records. Those are my favorite memories, my favorite members, and
cool. You did it all. Covered all your bases.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for giving us your time tonight, Andrew. It's always a pleasure. And last but not least tonight, Will was out running around and got in late. So we'll give you the mic. Close up whatever you want to do. Tell us some stories.
Since we're showing off Kiss tattoos, I got my Kiss Army tattoo in Europe on the tour last year. And like 5 days later, I got COVID. So
oh no.
My point to this story is getting a Kiss tattoo, you're putting your life in your hands.
Are any of you guys with the tattoos, are you in the Kiss book?
Yeah, I just was going to say that, Jimmy. You didn't show us the book.
So I obviously I have mine. That's
right.
Yeah, there's just Gene, Paul.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Peter's in the middle.
Yeah.
Ace is on the back. My arm is actually in the the first original History book.
Right.
And, when Andy and I were playing in a band called Heavens to Mergitroid, there was a photographer named Keith
Salatano.
Yeah.
So, you know, he just did a photo shoot for us, and he saw my Kiss tattoo, and he said, you know, hey, did you put your tattoo into the book? And I'm like, no, I don't know anything about it. He's like, well, here, look, let me give you this name. And he gives me his name, and the guy's name is, my name is Jim Young. This guy's name is Joe Young. So I write in this letter and I'm like, hey, I'm like, hey, brother. I'm like, my name is Jim Young. I'm like, here's my Kiss tattoo. I don't know if it's too late or whatever, but let me know if it's going to be in the book or not. And, I'd appreciate it. Never hear nothing. I had already ordered the book because obviously I was a Kiss fan at that time. So I had already ordered the book. So not knowing anything about it, I get the book, it arrives, I'm going through the pages, and all of a sudden I get to the tattoos, and lo and behold, my arm's there on like 3 different pages. And I was like, holy
That's
shit.
awesome.
Yeah. So then I go all the way to the back of the book, and where the credits is, it has my name in the credits. So
Cool.
I'm a little bit part of history.
Well, we have Kiss. We both have Kiss and Voivod tattoos, Will.
I have a Voivod tattoo on my back.
I know, you showed it to me when we were drinking at the corner bar of my house.
Yeah. But so I got this tattoo like by the end of the tour, and then I got sick, and I went home and went into a coma, and then when I get out of my coma, I forgot I got a Kiss tattoo. So I was stoked. Like, it was one of the first things I looked at when I woke up after 12 days of being out. I looked at the arm, I'm like, fuck yeah, I got a Kiss tattoo.
You didn't have to go,
I totally forgot.
you didn't have to go through the healing process.
So it's like you got COVID and you came back with a Kiss tattoo. That's cool.
A fully healed one.
I
It was like your stick.
this lousy Kiss tattoo. That was.
It was like the sticker you got that said "I voted."
So, before I go to my favorite album, I just want to tell a quick Gene Simmons story. It's just like whenever his first book came out, like in maybe 99 or 98, or maybe early 2000s, whenever his first book came out, I went to go see Monstrosity the night before. And then I went to an after party and did lines all night, and I was up all night raging. And Gene Simmons was doing a bookstore in-store signing thing on Haight Street, and I had been up all night. I was still drinking like at 9 o'clock in the morning, hanging out with people. When someone said, "Hey, Gene Simmons is on Haight Street. Let's go check it out." So I fucking went, and surprisingly, there wasn't that big of a line. I mean, it wasn't really advertised. I never even heard about it. So we got in fairly easy, and me and my friends walked up, and I shook Gene Simmons' hand, and I swear to God, his eyes, I mean, it was clear I'd been up all night, and I was still high when I met him, and his eyes just fucking penetrated my soul. Oh my God, he fucking knows I'm high. I felt so small.
He's like, you smell like
He's hella cool. So my favorite album is a tie. It's Lick It Up and Creatures of the Night. That's my favorite era of Kiss. It's their most metal. Eric Carr shines on both of those albums, and I love Eric Carr. He's my second favorite member of Kiss. So just Lick It Up, especially around that time, being a Kiss fan was really hard. Like all the older stoner and rocker guys at my school were like, Kiss sucks, fuck Kiss. They sold out, all the time, It almost got to blows sometimes. So I was really proud to be a Kiss fan when Lick It Up came out, and they started like gaining a momentum, like they were getting bigger around that time, and I was just stoked for them. The videos were on MTV quite often, and just a heavy album. I think Vinnie Vincent played a big part in Kiss coming back to the foreground and being good again. I just love Gene Simmons' merciless vocals on Lick It Up. He's screaming his fucking head off. The lyrics are mean and just not friendly at all. And I just dig it. Love that album.
Animalize really strong too. Animalize, another really strong one.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, from fucking, I mean, I won't count The Elder, even though I thought The Elder was pretty metal as well. But from Creatures to Asylum, like someone said, I think John said, that they were on fire for those 4 albums, man. And just really heavy. And Asylum was starting to show a glimpse of what was to come, which is, 2 of their worst albums coming up. But I just love that era of Kiss. And my favorite member is Ace Frehley, like most men or most people. I just love his rockin' attitude, great solos, and he has the coolest makeup, I thought. He looked the coolest. I love his costumes, especially Dynasty. I loved his Dynasty costume. I thought the other 3 costumes in Dynasty were kind of fruity or just a little overdone, but Ace's costumes still look badass, man. Like
with the cape. Yeah.
Kind of Vegas.
yeah, he was the
Liberace
only
kind of.
one that wore a cape well in that band.
Yeah. Ace could wear anything, dude. Ace could wear anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, there you have it. Lick It Up and Creatures of the Night.
Cool.
Cool.
I had one person was yelling at me on my Facebook feed that no one picked Revenge, but
Yeah.
That's correct.
Overrated,
That is
man.
correct.
and no one mentioned the Psycho Circus. Ooh,
That is correct.
That's on the bottom 3.
Yeah.
Psycho Circus is on the bottom.
Revenge is really overrated, man. It has some great songs. Unholy is awesome, but
Unholy, yeah, that's a heavy
the
song.
rest of the album doesn't really live
Domino.
up to that track, I think.
I liked it better than Hot in the Shade or Crazy Nights. You know what I mean? It was a
Oh
good,
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of a forgotten part of some of those albums.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
one
Psycho
thing.
Circus, they
um,
still play to this day. That one's they picked that one up and kept it in their set list. You know?
Well, one thing I noticed with their career, both times in the 70s and the 80s, it's like they had like a really good run, and that seemed like maybe they listened to like the wrong people trying to tell them to stay relevant. And I think if they would have just like followed their instinct, you know, instead of listening to all these people talking to you. But I guess most musicians have that problem. You know, you put out an album and all of a sudden people start telling you like, or you want to keep up that, you know, certain amount of fame or whatever. And Kiss, I can't imagine on that level of having that much pressure of putting out an album, you know, like Up to Love Gun, we'll say, or even Dynasty, and then have to continue that afterwards. But in listening to people telling you, you either do it this way or you're going to go under, when probably if you just followed your own instinct, it would be a better chance of it actually being good. Because it seemed like they did that after Asylum too, around Asylums, when it started to maybe less influence of the band and more influenced by what's going around, you know, on around. They fell into that whole like, you know, power ballad stuff. Which, I mean, a lot of my favorite metal bands kind of went into that power ballad thing or that MTV influence thing. It's just a shame because I think Kiss probably could have put out a lot of more better music if they just would have just stuck to what they wanted to do, you know?
Yeah.
But what they wanted to do was be on top of the charts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they wanted fame more than they wanted to put out the good music, I guess.
Well, you know, like Will was talking about that stretch of 80s records, but you know, one thing that was perfect about those records at that time, for me anyway, and probably for a lot of us, but you know, I was 5 when I got into Kiss, but at Lick It Up I was 12, and that was it was harder. It was like more like the Motley Crue and shit that was going on. You know, more like they aged perfect with me, you know, with us kind of. You know what I mean? You know, like, and then they didn't after that. But for that time, for the 80s stuff, they went metal right at the perfect time to do that. You know, like
totally.
Right as all their kid bands were now getting into their teenage years. You know what I mean? Like, so you got back into them. You know?
Yeah.
Cool.
The weird thing about Hot in the Shade is like that's my least favorite Kiss album. I think it's terrible. But that tour was one of maybe the best tour I've ever seen. That show was fantastic.
That big Sphinx and everything.
Yeah, and the set list even.
They played a lot of old stuff.
Yeah.
They played I Stole Your Love, I Want You, I think. Like it was fucking amazing, man. It blew me away because and the opening bands weren't great either. It was Slaughter and Winger, I think. Or Winger and Slaughter.
Yeah. I saw them at Nassau Coliseum.
County Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Those were big bands at the time.
Bands, you know, I was totally getting into thrash and I was already into thrash, but I was getting into death metal by that point. And yeah, Slaughter and Winger were happening. So I wasn't really expecting much from Kiss, and I couldn't believe it. It just blew my fucking head off. So I think that's the best time I saw him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess we can wrap this one up unless you guys want to keep going.
We're at like 2 hours. I think we're okay.
We're at 2 hours. 2 hours of Kiss talk, and I guess it's the worst thing. It's better than watching.
The fadeaway.
Right now. I had a good time tonight, so please take a minute, everyone, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like, and hit like and follow some of the folks that I've had on tonight and their careers on We will be back on Thursday this week with Andrew and a few of the guys we mentioned earlier. We're going to do a tribute to Dio, and I think Andrew knows a lot about Mr. Dio.
He's the last
Not
in
much.
line.
I know a lot of the words they wrote. That's about it.
You know a lot of the words. Oh, yeah. So it'll be great, and maybe Will, maybe we'll see you on Thursday too. But you're rehearsing, right?
Yeah, Death Angel has rehearsal at 2:00, so I might be home in time. I'm hoping.
You can always
Get your
pop in.
priorities straight, Will.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Vinny's coming on, Will. Will,
Your celebrity is more important.
Vinny's going to be on.
Thanks for joining us for another long episode of the Rock Fantasy Files. But when you have 7, 8 people talking about bands they like, it's going to take a couple hours. I think it's going to be.
Totally.
All righty. Thanks. And stay
Thank
safe
you.
and rock
Good night.
on. And
Peace
Andrew,
out.
are you gonna sing "God Gave Rock and Roll" to you?
God gave rock and- That's an Argent song, dude. It's an Argent.
I know,
song.
but they use it at the end of their stuff.
I
Then
know.
you were singing it on a video a few weeks ago, weren't you?
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
I do it. I do a
Yeah.
show in time. That's one of the songs.
I
in it.
thought you did. Yeah.
That was really cool, actually, by the way. I saw it.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Peace out.
Good night.
Yeah, take care.
Good night, guys.
And